The story begins in a beautiful city surrounded by mountains and forests. On the other side, we see a man working with his hammer. In the next moment, we show that he finishes building his beautiful home in the countryside. His eyes well up with tears as he exclaims that he finally has his own restaurant. His name is Ellison, and he is a Class 9 Archmage. Reflecting on the past, he thinks it's been 15 years since he was heading home from school as usual. After finishing school, feeling really sleepy, he had only one dream: to become a chef. He mentions that he practiced handling ingredients a little bit today, and it's already getting dark. Ellison attended a high school that had a culinary arts department, and it was his dream to become a famous chef after graduation, eventually opening a small restaurant when he got older. However, his life took an unexpected turn when he was hit by Truck-Kun. When he came to his senses, he was greeted with the scenery of an unfamiliar world, commonly referred to as being sent into a fantasy world. But this world is far from peaceful. Suddenly, a man comes and tells him to get himself together, warning that if he messes up during evacuation, he'll die on the road. Confused, without another thought, Ellison starts traveling with that man. He asks the old man about the place and where they are. After hearing Ellison's words, the old man is surprised and asks if he's an outsider, noting that his outfit is a little unique. The old man then explains that they are in the city of Drake, located on the outskirts of the Louvren Empire. Suddenly, red dragons start attacking, and the old man didn't expect this to happen even in a remote area like this. Hearing the old man's words, Ellison gets a rough idea that the world he was summoned to is filled with monsters, magic, and an empire seemingly at war with dragons. He thinks about what kind of ridiculous situation this is, finding everything incredibly confusing. However, it is said that humans are animals that can adapt, so he tries to accept the current situation as quickly as possible. Ellison thought, let's think positively. I almost died after being hit by a truck, but luckily I got a second chance. There's no way this world is that bad. I don't have to take the college entrance exam, and I don't even have to go to the military after graduating from college. While contemplating this, thinking about not having to go to the military and looking for his own strengths, suddenly a man riding a horse arrives and asks everyone to pay attention. He says that he received a message from His Majesty the Emperor. Reading the message, he announces to the people of the Louvren Empire that the fate of the country is at stake. The mercenaries have fled, and the nights are falling. There's no place left to run away from those dragons. Now they must stand up for their country themselves. After hearing his words, the atmosphere changes, and people start expressing their determination to protect their country. Ellison is really confused, and the old man screams loudly, saying, "Our emperor commands. Let us fight, in the name of the knights, for Louvren." The day Ellison was summoned, the Louvren Empire was facing a great crisis due to the war against the dragons, as the military power provided by mercenaries was not enough. The enlistment system was implemented, drafting all men between the ages of 17 and 45 into the Templar Knights, regardless of status. In the next moment, an old man asks Ellison if he has any relatives who are high-ranking knights or high-ranking officials of the Templar Knights. Since Ellison doesn't know anyone in this new world, he ends up enlisting too. He reflects on the transfer to this new world where danger is everywhere, expressing a preference for getting hit by the truck instead. And that's how his service as a knight begins. A few days later, one of the knights approaches Ellison and mentions that his magic potential is quite high. When he leaves the training center, he'll be assigned to the Magic Corps. Ellison agrees with the knight's suggestion. During lunchtime, as Ellison eats his food, he contemplates being an archmage, thinking it might be better than wielding a sword and bumping into others. However, he finds the taste of his food unpleasant, comparing it to eating boiled potatoes with cardboard. Soldiers sitting nearby express that the food is good, but Ellison can't understand why they consider it so. He wonders if people here lack taste buds. Suddenly, he realizes that if he opened a restaurant in this world, it could be a big hit. Inspired, he starts training hard to achieve his dream, believing he can still fulfill it in this new place. He thinks a dragon is just a beast, and he'll train his magic to achieve that, expecting to be discharged in about 2 years. However, he regrets not knowing that his service period wouldn't be 2 or 3 years, but rather 15 years, realizing he might not have endured it if he had known earlier. Time passed, and in the present, we see Drake City where Ellison has opened his restaurant. A beautiful lady, the landlady, passes by the restaurant. The landlady is surprised, not expecting to find a store in such a place. She notices Ellison, who is crying while reminiscing about his past. Misinterpreting his tears, she believes he's going through a rough time, unaware that it's related to his 15 years of military service. Concerned, the landlady asks if Ellison is okay. He reassures her, expressing happiness about finally managing to open his restaurant. The landlady is surprised and asks if he is the owner. After a brief conversation, they introduce themselves. The landlady introduces herself as Rain. However, for simplicity, we'll continue to refer to her as the landlady. After the introduction, she asks Ellison if he recently moved there, as she hasn't seen him before. Ellison confirms that he is new to the area and came with a friend from the military who tends to sleep a lot, expecting her to wake up in the evening. Curious, the landlady inquires if Ellison needs meat for his restaurant. He explains that after finishing his work, he planned to find out if there was a butcher's shop in town. The landlady mentions that it's great timing and informs Ellison that her husband runs a butcher shop. She directs him to Null's butcher shop, located to the left of the alley at the entrance to the village. Ellison expresses his gratitude and says he'll go there right away. However, the landlady hesitates, warning Ellison that her husband has a fiery personality and can be harsh. She suggests that if he finds him too strict, he can mention that she sent him. Ellison appreciates the landlady's kindness and agrees to follow her advice. As he heads to the butcher shop, he wonders just how fiery her husband could be. Upon arriving at the butcher shop, Ellison encounters a seemingly scary old man. The old man angrily asks what Ellison wants and declares that he won't sell him any meat. Ellison, frightened but determined, explains that he is the owner of a restaurant and wishes to purchase meat. The old man refuses, expressing frustration about previous restaurant owners taking advantage of him. Suddenly, someone intervenes and hits the old man, calling his words nonsense. It turns out to be the landlady, who had met Ellison in front of his restaurant and came to check on him. She asked the old man why she came here because she was anxious. She apologized to Ellison and said once his husband gets upset, it lasts for a long time. She asked Ellison if he wanted Balearan meat. The old man is crying from pain, telling the landlady he can't believe she is doing this, and asking if she knows how hard it was for him. However, the landlady says, why is he taking it out on Ellison? On the other side, Ellison is really frustrated, thinking that he wants to go home. The landlady asks her husband to hurry up and get the meat, then gives it to Ellison. She apologizes once again to Ellison and mentions that it was a restaurant her husband took good care of because the owner was his colleague when he was a mercenary. Although she thinks he was greatly shocked when betrayed like that, Ellison says he understands. More curious about his husband's past as a mercenary, the landlady comments on how young Ellison looks and asks where he was drafted. Ellison replies that he had a lot of troubles and went through many bad things over the past 15 years. In the next moment, the old man gets the meat and asks Ellison why he doesn't show off his great skills. He also questions if Ellison thinks he'll give him precious Balearan meat, emphasizing that Balearan meat is delicious no matter how Ellison eats it. However, the old man declares that from now on, he'll only supply meat to restaurants that he approves of. Ellison doesn't pay any attention to the old man's words. After seeing Balearan meat, he didn't expect to receive this meat instead of Balearan. The old man then asks Ellison to try making a proper dish using that meat. If he doesn't satisfy him, he won't be able to see even a single piece of fat, let alone meat, from now on. The old man also reminded Ellison that his taste is quite exquisite, so brace yourself. It's best if he prepares well. However, Ellison is not paying any attention to him. The old man asks him if he is listening or if he's starting to feel scared now. On the other side, Ellison sees that the old man is lying on the table after his wife hit him with a cooking pan. Ellison asks the landlady, wasn't that a bit too harsh? But the landlady replies that he doesn't have to worry. Her husband is a tough nut. She also tells Ellison that he can ignore what his husband just said, as she didn't expect him to play tricks to this extent. Ellison replies that he will be grateful to cook for them. He invites them to join him and Mr. Knoll for dinner at his restaurant in the evening, assuring them that he'll have their food ready. The landlady is really surprised. She asks Ellison if it's okay to use that meat and offers some Balearan meat. However, Ellison refuses, stating that this is enough and he's sure he can make something delicious out of this meat. He says he'll see them in the evening. But the landlady is really nervous because the meat they gave Ellison is not Balearan. It's the belly fat of a wooba. Ellison, knowing that in this world, livestock and animals are called by entirely different names compared to where he came from, explains that cows are referred to as wuka, chickens as palanque, wolves as Balearan, and pigs as wooba. After some time, Ellison arrives at his restaurant without any thought. He opens the meat bag and thinks they'll be arriving soon, so he starts preparing. After seeing the pork belly, he thinks that he can understand Mr. Knoll's pride. It's top-notch meat. In this world, palanque, unlike chicken, is considered a pricey ingredient, and the most cost-effective meat option is wooba or pork. with the belly cut being especially budget-friendly. Ellison also mentions that people here just don't appreciate the charm of this cut. Given the quality of this pork belly, the natural way to enjoy it is to grill it with his fire magic. After some time, the landlady and her husband come to Ellison's restaurant. The landlady asks her husband why he said that, but he asks what he did. The landlady replies, "Didn't you say that you would only supply meat to approved restaurants?" She also questions when he came up with such a fancy principle, noting that Ellison seems honest and kind, so why can't he just be nice to the new resident? But the old man replies to him that she just met him today. How could she possibly know? He is a good person. However, the landlady says to the old man that rather than him being deceived with both eyes open, doesn't he think other people's eyes are more accurate? And he doesn't even mean it. Checking his cooking skills was just an excuse. What he wants to see is his sense of responsibility, right? After hearing his wife's words, he gets silent. At some points, he knows what his wife is saying is right, but he changes the topic and says he has a really picky palate. He knows. What if his cooking skills aren't up to par? After hearing this, the landlady asks if his cooking skills are not good, what is he going to do? At this, the old man replies that if he asks for a pound, they'll only give him a pound. After saying that, they start heading to Ellison's restaurant. In the next moment, we see some soldiers fighting with monsters. They're saying that there are too many monsters. They can't defeat them, they have to retreat. But one of the soldiers' legs is stuck in rocks. He's asking for help. Suddenly, a monster comes from behind him, going to attack him. But suddenly a man comes from nowhere and starts casting a magic spell, Thermal Blade. With this, he kills every monster in just one move. After seeing this, the soldiers get really surprised. They start cheering. The great archmage Sir Ellison is here. Ellison is really famous for serving in the military. In the present, he starts casting a mini thermal blade on his finger, thinking that every magic has its own way of being used. He is using this magic to create cuts in the meat, enhancing the absorption of the marinade. Moreover, as it bakes, the moisture on the surface of the meat quickly evaporates, allowing you to enjoy an even crispier texture. After that, he cleans his hands with a towel and thinks the meat is ready. He just has to prepare dishes. In the next moment, the landlady and her husband come to the restaurant. Ellison greets them and asks to sit wherever they like. He'll bring their food shortly. The landlady praises Ellison's restaurant, saying it's a really good place, but the old man is not happy. He says he doesn't like this place. After hearing this, the landlady gets angry, grabs a pan, and says to his husband, "How about we stop being grumpy and just wait for the food?" On the other side, our main character Ellison starts cooking. He says that once the griddle is heated, lightly coat it with oil. Since pork belly is quite fatty, apply just enough to prevent it from sticking to the pan. When placing the meat, begin with the skin side. Otherwise, as the insides start cooking, the skin may dry out, making it difficult to achieve even grilling. But he thought it would have been better with more time for the moisture to evaporate because delicious cooking even enhances the appetite through its sound. The sound of sizzling pork is just like that. Fry the skin, then adjust the heat to give the sides some color. After an additional sprinkle of salt, grill the meat thoroughly to ensure even cooking inside. Then cut it into a convenient size for serving. Next, we prepare a salad to accompany the meal, perhaps eating just the wraps as they may not be familiar to the locals here. Various vegetables and a tangy dressing to balance out the richness of the grilled pork belly. After preparing the vegetable salad, he thought that Mr. Knoll seems meticulous, so it's best to avoid unnecessary additions. Finally, he plates it nicely for the finishing touch. The salad and grilled pork belly complete. After that, he starts serving them. After seeing the food, the landlady praises Ellison, saying, "This looks delicious." But the old man says only the appearance is good, but the taste is going to be really bad. However, the landlady doesn't pay any attention to her husband's words and starts eating. She takes the first bite and feels like she is in heaven. The food is really good. She asks Ellison, "Is this really wooba belly fat?" Ellison, with a big smile, replies that she is right. The landlady talks about the food, saying, "It's delightfully crispy on the outside, yet brimming with juiciness inside." The zesty fragrance of the salad also cleanses away its richness. She never imagined such a combination. Ellison smiles and says to the landlady that he is really glad that she likes it. After eating, the landlady says to Ellison, "It seems I'll have to supply the meat to ensure I get a taste of your cooking again." Ellison says thanks for the compliment and asks the old man how about him, was the food to your liking? But the other old man has already finished eating. Ellison is really surprised. He thought that the old man didn't like it. On the other hand, the old man is really disappointed because the food is really delightful. and this is not enough for him. Ellison asks him if it satisfied him, but the old man is not satisfied. He asks Ellison to bring him more meat. He needs more meat. But his wife hits him with a pan and says if he wants more, just ask for it and not scare Ellison. After that, the old man says to Ellison that he has passed. To be honest, among all the Wuba dishes he's tried so far, this was the best. The contract is sealed. Just say what kind of meat he wants. He'll supply the finest meat from the Louvren Empire. After hearing this, Ellison is really happy. The landlady is also surprised that her husband admits that Ellison's food is really delicious. After that, they sign a contract, and Ellison found a good butcher shop. After a long day, Ellison thinks this is enough to consider the first day of business a success. On the other side, we see a girl who is sleeping on the bed. She woke up after smelling something delicious. In the early evening, in the suburb of Great City, Ellison has been adapting smoothly since the opening of the restaurant a week ago. People are loving Ellison's Wuba belly meat, and he is really happy to see many customers. After some time later, people finish their meal. They say thanks to Ellison for serving them a really delicious meal. Ellison appreciates them and says, "Come again." After closing his restaurant, Ellison says, "Should I slowly start finishing up now?" After that, Ellison heads to the kitchen. He shows that there aren't many condiments and spices left, and he has to get some. Everyone should know how important these are for cooking. He picks up a pepper glass bottle and shows there isn't much left, so he has to get some. However, in this world, they are rare and expensive, so he can't use them freely. Moreover, the quality and variety of the products are no match against the products in the modern world. So, he gets a gold coin from his bag and says, "It's time to restock." He places the gold coin in a magic circle on the table and starts casting a magic spell. The way to solve this problem in one go is this world's summoning magic, which summons objects from the modern world. Truth be told, he coincidentally made this spell when he was searching for a way to return to his original world. But he said it before, magic depends on how one uses it. There is a limit to the object's size and weight, but it's still a big help to him. But he also thought that it's not a perfect spell since it failed to achieve the main purpose of returning to his original world. He also thought it would be nice if he could go over just like this red pepper box. But he feels bad about just taking the products, so he at least sent the gold coin over. But groceries, unless they are processed products like fresh meat, eggs, or vegetables, all arrive in a spoiled state. But processed products also have expiration dates, but it doesn't seem to be a problem. And he doesn't know the exact reason for this, why only processed products come out in a spoiled state. But there are also some side effects of using this magic because after using this magic once, he gets really tired. After using it so many times, he still can't get used to this. Even he, carrying the title of Archmage, can only perform the summoning magic once a day. Sometimes later, after finishing his work, he thought this is the perfect time to rest while drinking the beer he summoned last time. But when he opens the fridge door, he shows there isn't a single beer left in the fridge. He gets really angry. He shouts very loudly and asks Rurin, the girl we saw before. She is sleeping after drinking so many beers. Ellison goes to the second floor and hits him really hard on the head. She asks Ellison why did he hit him. She didn't do anything wrong. Ellison explains that she took the beer out of the refrigerator and drank all of it without asking. But he is more angry when she, after drinking the beer, doesn't clean his room. Rurin says she does this because he doesn't leave any of the delicious food for him last time. She's talking about when Ellison invited the landlady for dinner. She also adds that his body is a dragon's. Cleaning up is something lower beings do. He is not cleaning it up. For those who don't get it, his name is Rurin, and she is a black dragon. Ellison is really angry. He hits Rurin again, and he gives him some organize and asks him to peel all of them. But Rurin doesn't want to do this. She says that she is a dragon. This work doesn't suit him. Just like she said, she really is a dragon, though she's polymorphed into her human form right now. Ellison found her after she became an orphan, losing her mother and home during the Dragon War. Ellison is a soft-hearted person, and he couldn't just leave her like that. So he decided to help him, and they have been staying together ever since. Ellison thought about Rurin that, although she has lived for hundreds of years, she is still young for a dragon. Maybe that's why she is immature. Rurin is peeling organize after Ellison hit him. She is crying because of this. To make him happy, Ellison says he will make him hamburger steak for dinner if she finishes peeling and for him to stop whining his hands. After hearing about the hamburger steak, Rurin gets really happy. In the next moment, an old man comes to Ellison's restaurant. He is really sad and asks Ellison to bring him alcohol and some snacks. After seeing him, Ellison says, "So, old man, so it was you, Mr. Noel." He asks him to wait for a while. Ellison goes to the kitchen and opens the fridge, showing that Rurin drank all of the beer. So, he decides to give him another drink. Luckily, he summoned another drink last time. He gives this drink to the old man with some snacks. After seeing this drink, the old man asks Ellison, "What is this? It's not beer, is it water?" Ellison explains that this is a new drink, not water. It's called soju. Why don't you try it since you're curious? The old man gets the drink, and before he drinks, he says it smells a bit weird. But after drinking one cup, he says this isn't bad at all. It's bitter at first, but the sweet taste at the end harmonizes well with the meat. He also says that the side dish turned into something amazing with the soju alone. It has a different charm than the salad. The old man also adds that he knew it before, but Ellison's cooking is really extraordinary. He asks Ellison to bring him another bottle. Ellison goes to the kitchen to get another bottle, but he thinks that the old man seems different today. Did something happen to him? One after another, the old man drinks many bottles of soju, but he doesn't stop there. He asks Ellison to bring him one more bottle. However, Ellison replies to the old man that he has already drunk too much. This drink has a high alcohol percentage, but the old man doesn't care. He asks Ellison to bring him another bottle. He has to get drunk today. Seeing the old man like that, Ellison asks what happened to him. The old man replies that he thinks his wife, Rain, is cheating on him. After hearing this, Ellison is surprised. The old man explains that, in the beginning, she said she needed to go out for a bit, but it has happened several times now. Every month at a certain time, she dresses up nicely. This continued for several months, so he decided to secretly follow her one day. And then he found out she was meeting a colleague from her mercenary days. He had been his closest friend. The reason why he disappeared after he opened the butcher shop must be that he was too ashamed to face me while hanging out with Rain. And today, she went out again, though it's not the usual time of the month. The old man is really angry. He says it seems like she doesn't care about him at all now. After hearing this, Ellison asks the old man to calm down, stating that getting drunk won't solve the problem. But the old man is really sad. He says he won't be able to face the truth, but he still loves wife Rain. He says even though the situation is like this, he can't live without Rain and asks Ellison what he's supposed to do now. After hearing the old man's story, Ellison asks the old man to leave this case to him. He hasn't known landlady Rain that long, but he doesn't think she is the kind of person who would do something like that. He asks the old man to wait here and asks Rurin to stop peeling and come out with him. There is some work to do. After hearing this, Rurin replies that she doesn't want to go. Ellison says if she doesn't want, she can just keep peeling. After hearing that, Rurin agrees with him. Sometimes later, they reach the marketplace, and they start finding where landlady will be. Rurin says these restaurants are really crowded, unlike anywhere else. After some time, Ellison finds out landlady. She is sitting in the restaurant with someone. After seeing the man who is sitting with landlady, Ellison wonders if he is the mercenary colleague Mr. Knoll was talking about.